What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another video. I'm pretty excited about this one because we're actually going to be starting something that I've wanted to start for a long time. I want to paint the car eventually. That's like the end goal as far as visual, the way I want to make the car look. I want it painted, and I think I've decided to go with black or like a really dark gray, like a metallic or something. So we're going to shoot for that. So that being said, I kind of have a lot of body work to do on this car before it's 100% ready for paint. Black's like a hard color, any imperfections in the body, and you're gonna see it with a black paint job, especially brand new gloss. The car right now, it's so dull, you could barely even see the dents in it, but I know if it's painted with these dents, you'll see all of them. So I wanna go through and fix everything. I think I'm just gonna go panel by panel, because this is quite a project and it's gonna take me a while, but I just wanna get started on it already. I did used to work at a body shop, so I kind of have a little bit of experience, but not too much. I mainly did prep, but I did pick up a lot of things from the people that work there, and I've tried them myself. But I think with, the right amount of time and effort, I can get this car to look really good and probably have a better paint job than it came with from factory. Just because these Japanese cars, they spray the paint on really thin. But when I lay down a paint job, I can get it to look like more like an American car or like a European paint job, because they all have their distinct characteristics. But Japanese paint's very orange peely because they go really light. And you can see they did go really light on this car. Obviously there's no clear coat even left. So I assume this car was never waxed or maintained or garaged or anything. So that's probably why any areas that are, vertical surfaces don't have any paint on them. The paint starts to come back in around here, and then you only really have any gloss down lower here. This one back area is the only area on the car that I actually hit with a buffer, the rear bumper and stuff, so it has a little gloss to it, but there's nothing to even polish here. The clear coat's just completely gone. You can see what remains of the clear coat. So this car needs a respray really bad. I don't mind it looking like this because it looks totally sleeper, just because it looks like a piece of junk, but I think once this thing's sprayed black, it's gonna look really sharp. I may have to get new wheels. You guys might notice that I did remove these body side moldings. My plan is to actually fill in all these holes and just have no moldings because I think it looks much cleaner. I also want no pinstripe, and I'm going to try to black out all the chrome and everything, so I think that it'll look nice if it's all black. The side skirts, I'm debating on whether or not I just want to paint the stock ones or get some aftermarket ones. I guess I gotta look around. I don't really want the car to be any lower per se, but maybe something with a little bit more style to it. And the mud flaps, not really sure yet either on those. Maybe I'll keep them. If I paint them, I think they would look pretty nice. Just like the front lip that I just put on, and I got everything all affixed, the bumper's reattached. But yeah, it's looking good. I'm really happy with the way the car is turning out visually so far. I haven't yet tried to drive. I'm still pretty scared about that. But yeah, I'm gonna see if I can give you guys a little intro to some body work here. But let me first go over like exactly how I got these things off. So it's, kind of difficult, but if you use a heat gun, it can be made much easier. I didn't. I'm painting the car, and I assume if you're taking these moldings off, you're probably painting the car too. Because you're gonna have some body work to do to fill these in, unless you're just replacing them, and in that case, whatever. But make sure you get new clips, and be careful. Heat gun is helpful, and just try not to scratch your paint if you're not gonna paint the car. But me painting it, I just used a plastic trim tool and I pried it, and I basically broke all the clips off inside the door, so I may have to go retrieve them from the inside of the door there so they don't rattle on me. But I plan to fill in all these holes by welding little pieces of sheet metal in the place right there, and then obviously all this adhesive will be gone, and it'll just be like the one body line, and it'll come straight down. So I think it'll look really nice all filled in like that. So I'm gonna get to work on that today, I think, is fill these holes up. There's a couple on the fender too. These might be easier to get from the back as well, so we'll see how well I can weld the panel. Hopefully I don't warp it. I may have a couple of high spots because I pulled on the clips pretty hard. I may have pulled the sheet metal a little bit, so I may have to tap it down with a hammer. We're just gonna see how it goes. I think the first thing that I'm gonna do is just take a DA sander and just give the door a nice sand in these areas, just so I can get ready to do some welding on it. So I'm not sure if you could tell by that little time lapse there, but this car has actually been hit before, it looks like. I'm assuming there's going to be a little bit of filler in here, maybe not, but I think this car was hit in the body side molding, and I think it dented, it pushed in right here because I can feel a dent here, and the filler kind of goes into here as well. I'm not sure how far it goes down, but I honestly didn't think that this car had been hit like that, so I guess they did a pretty decent job, but I definitely sanded a lot of the filler out, and I'm going to be putting a lot of my own filler in here, so not really a big deal, but just something that is interesting. I didn't think that the car had been hit before, but it has. I knew it had been hit back here, you know, in the bumper, where this bumper is all deformed, but I didn't realize it had been hit here as well. I assume it was probably when the car was relatively new, because they must have sprayed this whole door, and the door is faded just like the rest of the car, so this is probably a long time ago. They did a pretty good job. So, that being said, I need to try to scrounge around for some sheet metal, because I thought I had some like about this thickness, but I don't think I do. I have thicker stuff, so I have to find sheet metal this size so we can weld the two together and make it easier if it's the right size. But I'm just going to cut little pieces of sheet metal, and I think I'm going to actually weld that to like a nail, and then hold it right here in place, and then tack it again, and just let it cool down so we don't warp the panel, because it's easy to warp thin sheet metal like this. So we'll just do a tack, and we'll see if we can get multiple ones going at once, and then I can tack them all in. Once they're tacked, I'll grind the welds down, and once everything's ground smooth, this will be like sitting back just a little bit. I'll take a little bit of filler and I'll run a skim coat along this whole area, and we'll try to block it and make it smooth. So that's the plan. It's definitely a lot of work, but I think it's going to be worth it with these moldings removed. I think it's going to be really sick looking and nice and clean, coming all the way down with nothing interrupting it. It's just nice smooth body lines. Should be pretty cool. Hopefully I can make the bodywork look straight. Alright, so we are making a little bit of progress here. I found some metal lying around. It's not exactly sheet metal, it's a little bit thicker, but I think since I'm going to be putting it behind, I think we should be okay to just do a little bit of overlap welds. It's not like I'm replacing a panel, so the welds are decent, but you know, they're not going to be perfect, but whatever is not perfect I'll fill in with filler, not a big deal. Looking at it, I got a little piece in there that I slid behind, and I'm just kind of going around and tacking it in some areas. I did blow a little hole trying to get the welder settings set up right, but I did disconnect the battery so we don't fry the ECU or anything, but it's looking pretty decent. I'm going to work my way around. I put a little nail on it, one of these nails. I welded it to the little piece that I made, and then I stuck it in there and I held it with vice grips, just tacked it a couple of times, bent the nail off, and then I can go back and grind that, and then I'll just keep welding it until I fill in all the holes. But I am going to wait for it to cool down a little bit because I don't want to get the panel too hot and warp it, because it is just really thin sheet metal. So I just do like a tack or two and then wait a few minutes. It'd be nice to get a couple of these going at the same time so I can switch in between them. But I'm just going to take my time with this, you know, just going a little at a time, and eventually we'll get it all filled in, and then eventually we'll get it all ground down, and then we can worry about some filler. So here's a good look at what I'm actually doing. It's kind of tough, but I've been welding a nail to this little piece. I've been welding a nail to this little piece of metal, just like this, and then I'm actually able to pinch this thing with the vice grips. And then once I have it pinched, I'm able to snake it in here, just like so, and then just hold it back like that, and then give it a tack, and then I can make my way around and just get it all welded in. Ends up looking something like that, and then looking like that. These two right here are just about finished up. They're definitely going to need some filler. There's like some little tiny holes, but I'm not going to bother. That's plenty good. I may have a little bit of panel warpage, honestly, just because I'm not an expert sheet metal welder, and I think I end up going too hot, too impatient, or whatever, but we'll see. Hopefully we can fix it with filler. Not a pro body man, but I don't know, not too bad. It should come out okay. I'm not too worried about it. I did the tailgate on my truck when I deleted the handle, and it came out pretty good, and that was a large area, so these are small, so I should be able to shape it. It's right by this body line for reference too, so I should be able to make it look good. Alright, so after a lot of welding and, you know, a lot of grinding, I was able to get all the holes pretty much filled in and looking pretty decent. Some of them still have like a couple of tiny pinholes and stuff like that, but nothing that the filler can't fill in, so I think we're going to be good to go on these. They're much more manageable. I do think I might have a little bit of panel warpage just because I'm such an amateur welder. I just really like to warp these panels. This last one, not so bad. I did much better on this one, and I think I'm like finally getting the hang of it, to be honest. I think I just figured out like what I'm doing, so hopefully the rest of the car will be good. Maybe I should have started on the passenger side, but hopefully we can fix it with Bondo. I'm gonna go ahead and put the first coat of filler on right now. I'm just gonna throw some tape here and over there where I don't want to get the filler, and I'm gonna go ahead and load it up. And I ordered some sanding blocks, some nice sanding blocks, so we can try to sand with the contour. I want to block the whole car and like prime the whole car and then block it again, just to make sure everything's super smooth and flat. And we're gonna keep trying this until we get the car flat. So it's gonna be a process, but you know, I do want to do the process of reworking an entire car and painting it. So that's something I haven't done before, and I'd like to do it. So I'm ready to go here. I'm gonna go ahead and get my filler and mix some up, and then I'll go ahead and lay it on there and let it dry, and then maybe tomorrow I'll get to sanding some of that filler off. Alright, so I'm gonna mix up our filler right here. Alright, so I got our stuff here. We're gonna get a decent amount. I won't mix too big of a batch, but we'll mix a good amount. A little more than that. Alright. Now I already kneaded the hardener. It's important that you get it all mixed in good. So hopefully it's comes out nice. Alright. Didn't really come out in a solid line like it's supposed to, but that's okay. Hopefully it still makes it harden. Alright, I am pretty happy with how that looks. I don't think that that's overdone or anything. Yeah, I think that that's enough Bondo. So hopefully, yeah, we're able to sand it down flat and see what it looks like. So I tried to cover all the areas that I might have sanded down. Went thick enough, so we'll probably knock it down with a DA a little bit. And then I'll go back and hit it with something, you know, like a block, like maybe some 120 or something like that, and see if we can knock it down and get it relatively flat, and then we'll know exactly what we got to deal with here, and then we can look at filling some other dents in the door, and then we can prime. Alright, so I think we made some pretty good progress tonight. I don't feel bad about calling it quits here. We got the Bondo on, so we're ready to start sanding after this thing dries. Probably start on that tomorrow, doing a little bit of DA sanding and blocking, but yeah, I'm happy with where we got to tonight. We got one whole door done, so yeah, hopefully the bodywork isn't too difficult for me, and yeah, I'll pick up tomorrow morning, I think. Alright guys, so it is the following day, and I got my kit in. This is actually overnighted from Amazon. Came with all these sanding blocks. And I just had a little bit of 60 grit paper lying around. I did order some 40 grit, so it should be good for taking down the beginning stages of Bondo. Realistically, I shouldn't have let this dry overnight because it makes it much tougher to sand. But, you know, I'm just getting into it, so I don't want to sand too far or anything like that. So I'm learning. I have these long blocks now, which is nice. So this should keep me from actually ruining any panels or making it wavy. So I'm going to try to sand it, feather it out, and if I need to put more filler, which looks like I have a few low areas everywhere where I welded, where I warped the panel basically. So we're gonna see what we got to sand and see if we got to put more filler in it. But yeah, I feel much more confident with these blocks. I just need to get the correct sandpaper grits in, and then we can start working this in and get it ready to prime. And we're gonna have to do the whole car like this, so should be pretty interesting. Hopefully I can get it to turn out good. So I'm going to do a little more sanding right now. Well, I kind of got to a certain point with it where I was like, you know what, this is not going to work. I have too many high and low spots just because of all the warpage that I induced, because I'm such a welding noob, but it is what it is. I went ahead and laid down another fat coat of filler, and we're just going to have to block through that. And once we do, we hopefully will get closer to making this panel straight. I'm just going to do what I have to do to make it straight. If I got to spend a week on it, I will. I need to be able to make it straight. So yeah, in the future, I think that I'm pretty much, I'm better equipped to weld this thin sheet metal. I think I know what I'm doing more so. So hopefully none of the other doors get warped like this one. But yeah, it is what it is. I will fix it. This stuff dries quick. It's already starting to tack up, so I'm going to take our tape off. And this tape here can kind of help to preserve the body line that I'm trying to stick with and make it so I don't get a Bondo buildup on there. And there's a little bit up here, but this will sand out relatively easily. If it's not dry yet, you can kind of roll it off even. So that's not too bad. But yeah, this will hopefully dry off soon, and then I can get to blocking it a little bit more. And we're just going to keep going until we get this panel straight. Work it out however I have to. And then I think it's warped a little bit up top too, so I'll see if I can you know, make that straight as well. But I think eventually we'll be able to get it straight. Once I get it to a point where I like it, I can prime this section right here and then spray a little guide coat and block it. And if I like the way it blocks, good. If not, then I'll prime it again, or prime the whole door that time, block the whole door, and then hopefully not have to prime a third time. But you know, we got to do what we got to do, and eventually it should all be straight. I'm not a pro, so this does take me much longer than a regular, you know, old body man. They can do this stuff in a first try, but for me it takes several coats of Bondo, several primes, you know, it's stuff like that. So we'll see what we can do, but I'm already liking the way it's looking. Yeah, it's coming out pretty good. It's getting there. It's getting straighter every time. So another great trick that I use here is guide coat, and I don't have guide coat yet. I did order some powdered guide coat, but an alternative that you can use is just spray paint. I like to get a spray paint that's like a matte color. This happens to be a high heat black, so it's actually like a matte finish, and anything that's like a matte finish is going to be your best bet because it won't clog up your sandpaper. But if you get something that's a gloss, it's going to clog your sandpaper up, and it's going to end up looking like see all the little stuff that's all stuck in there. This sandpaper like doesn't work anymore just because it's all gummed up, because when you first start sanding Bondo, there's kind of like the layer on there, and it's like all the certain types of chemicals come to the surface, and you got to kind of sand that off first. There's something you can wipe it with to get rid of that. I don't really have any, but so I just use that as a junk piece of sandpaper now, and this is going to be my good piece, and I'm going to go in and block, and you guys will see exactly the point of the guide coat once I start blocking this. Alright, so it is honestly probably a couple days or a few days later, and I have gone over this car over and over and over again, and I'm not sure if I mentioned it before in the video, but I'm going to mention it now. This car was hit before or something, because it does have bodywork that's been done to it. You can see the yellow areas up top here. That's pre-existing filler, and right here there's like a pink area, and that's like some other filler. So the yellow areas are like their lightweight filler that they did. So I just started sanding into it up top, but I did sand quite a bit of it out on the bottom, so that's why the filler area is so large there, just because there is like some sort of damage there, and I think they definitely tapped it out and filled it in with some filler, which is, they did a good job because I didn't notice, and I think it was done a long time ago because the paint on this door is faded like the rest of the car. So if it was hit, it was probably when the car was pretty new. So that's pretty interesting, but never even noticed. So they did a good job. The repair lasted, but now we're taking it out. So you can see I've got metal like right here. There's some metal exposed and some metal exposed right here. So I know that these are sort of my high areas, and you can feel that on the panel. When you do body work, your best friend is your hand. That's the only way you're going to be able to tell if it's straight. So you got to get your hand like this and run it over your panel. And just by doing that, I can feel that I think this part right here is kind of high. I'm going to try to block that a little more. And yeah, just feeling this panel, it feels pretty straight. It's much straighter than it was, you know, a little while ago, but it still does need a little bit of work with these high areas on top. So I think that I've got to build up my Bondo layer just a little bit here, and I'm waiting on some lightweight filler to do that. So yeah, but this is basically like a lot of extra work that I made for myself by welding and warping this panel. So that's kind of my bad. In the future, I have a different way that I'm going to go about it. I actually got some panel bonder, and what I'm going to do is go in from the inside of the door and grind the whole area around this hole in the door, and then I'll use panel bonder on a piece of metal, and I'll you know, glue it up basically from the inside, the piece of steel in there, and then I can, you know, grind this and Bondo this from the outside, and I definitely won't warp the panel if I'm never touching it with a welder. So that's what I'm going to be doing tonight. I'm going to go ahead and take the door panel off from this side, and I'm going to go ahead and start grinding on the inside and try to panel bond some pieces of steel in there, and then we can get ready to throw some Bondo on this part of the car as well, or at least just seal up these holes for now in the door of the car so I can drive the car again. I really want to get this straight here and then get some primer on it so I can be driving the car while I do the body work on it, because if there's exposed metal, it's going to rust, so I don't want to do that. But this video might be getting kind of long, so I might cut it off here and make the panel bonder in the next video. So if that's the case, thanks for watching, everybody, and hopefully you guys enjoy this little intro to body work on the car. There's a lot of body work that I have to do for sure. It's going to take me a long time, probably less time to paint it. Definitely less time to paint it than it is for me to do the body work. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. This car has come a long way, and it's about to get way cooler after I'm done here painting this thing. So yeah, this is the long road to painting it. I'm still a little bit open to suggestions with colors and stuff like that. I think I definitely want to go with a really dark color like a black or maybe like a blue or something like that. But that's kind of where I'm at right now, like a dark blue. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. So thanks for watching once again. And if you like the video, give it a like. And if you want to see more, subscribe. Thanks a lot, guys. Peace.